I hate you and I never want to talk to you again. Send. Okay, Hey there guys, didn't see you guys there. Today we have a crazy topic at hand. Really sad stuff. We're gonna talk about how Russian people are arguing with their family about politics, which is something that I definitely do not do. And in general, we'll talk about how Russian propaganda divides families. Now if you're being serious for a second though, this is a very real issue. A lot of Russians who do not support the current government, who do not support the war in Ukraine, who do not support Vladimir Putin, and especially Russians like me who chose to leave Russia, a lot of them are having issues talking to their families. Not only just for the reason that Russia is basically shutting itself off from the rest of the world right now and the rest of the internet. Russia is pretty much banning Telegram and WhatsApp right now, making the connection so bad that it's impossible to call anybody, especially if you live outside of Russia. And even though there are workarounds, a lot of people already are losing access to like their old grandmas, their babushkas, because they only know how to use WhatsApp and send those cute little videos. But also, even if the connection works, a lot of Russians are having issues simply getting along and finding common ground with a lot of their relatives, and sometimes even their closest relatives like their father, their mother, and so on. Because apparently propaganda can brainwash somebody so hard that they become more loyal to the country and its leader as opposed to their own family. Why does stuff like this happen? Let's talk about it. Hey there people, it is your boy Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian, and welcome to a brand new video in which we'll take a look at how exactly the war in Ukraine and Russian politics have divided families in Russia, and also how Russian propaganda affects the way families interact with each other. And we're also gonna appreciate how much Vladimir Putin has done to improve the Institute of Family in Russia by making everybody super friendly to each other. Now I just showed you a little clip of a video that went pretty viral, that was uploaded by a Russian guy who recorded his mom talking to him on the phone, and as far as I understand, it's a guy who left Russia sometime after 2022 because he just didn't feel like it's safe in Russia. He felt maybe pressured by like possible mobilization or something, or just the overall situation in the country with the censorship and everything. And the clip went absolutely viral because it actually resonates with a lot of people. We have a mother whose instinct should be to protect her child, right, in all cases, in any situation, right? Telling her child, stop being such a traitor and such a pussy and just go fight in the war, essentially. Just go to the army and stop destroying your family with your cowardice. Because of course every man has to go serve in the army and defend the motherland from the Ukrainian Nazis. And if you don't do that, if you don't conform to these things, you are an embarrassment to your family. If you move to another country trying to escape a war, trying to escape possible mobilization, you're destroying your family. If you get drafted and killed, that's not destroying your family, of course. These are family values in Putin's Russia, you guys. I mean, it's incredible. It's like everything is completely flipped on its head. This is not how a mother should act, in my opinion.
Как я убиваю?
Там, где ты сидишь в своей жопе мира. Ты себя убиваешь сам. Чего ты боишься? Ты объясни, чего ты боишься?
Another one right here, guys. In this part of the video as well, I recognize a very familiar pattern with, you know, just a sort of Z mindset, the Putin supporter mindset, the Vatnik mindset, right? Essentially, one thing you have to understand is that in Russia and in the Soviet Union as well, this comes from the Soviet Union originally, I'm pretty sure, there's always been a lot of resentment inside people. And I've noticed this growing up and listening to, you know, older people talk. People in Russia have always resented and like low-key kind of hated on those who left Russia. The most common phrases in Russia you would hear from people is, ну и куда ты поедешь? Ну и кому ты там будешь нужен? Russians always like to tell people that if you move abroad, you'll be a nobody there. I remember when I was a kid, I was hearing like my relatives talk about some relative who like moved to Europe at a certain point or something. I don't even know who this is, but I remember they were saying like, oh yeah, she moved and what's the point? Who is she there now? She's just like mopping floors there in Germany or whatever now. Was it worth it leaving your motherland for that? You know, whatever. It's a mix of resentment and also jealousy at the same time, because a lot of these people, most Russians actually, like 70% of Russians, have never been abroad. And so they have this resentful feeling towards those that get to see those places, and also, especially to those people who move to these Western enemy countries, right? And it's especially super common now, obviously in the time of the war with Ukraine. Right now, if you leave Russia, that's basically considered by people as a political gesture, a movement. You're becoming a traitor of Russia, somebody who abandoned his motherland and abandoned his people in a time of, in dire times, in times of need, in times that Russia has inflicted on itself, by the way.
Мальчики уехали, мужчины остались.
And a ton of Russians essentially wish that everybody who left Russia dies and goes poor and homeless. That's the type of stuff you hear. Which is, by the way, really hilarious because one of Russians' main points usually is, if you don't like Russia, go to another country. But then when you do leave the country, they call you a traitor and, somebody who traded the motherland for American burgers and Coca-Cola. And this guy's mom here is pretty much saying the same thing.
Как я убиваю?
Там, где ты сидишь в своей жопе мира, ты себя убиваешь сам.
So she's basically saying here, you wouldn't be killed in the army. You're destroying and killing yourself right now because you're living in some shithole, some buttfuck of nowhere, right? And you can probably guess that she's talking about some post-Soviet country, because a lot of Russians who left Russia moved to a lot of post-Soviet countries like Georgia, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and so on. And, just a little bit of classic Russian chauvinism on display. Every other country except Russia is a shithole, obviously, right? And you're destroying yourself by being there because Russia is a glorious country. The land of opportunity, my god, it's so fucking embarrassing. But these are classic tropes, man, and pretty much this is the reason why this video went so viral, is that a lot of people recognize these same gaslighting stupid arguments and stupid points in the stuff that they heard from their families, in the arguments with their mother or father or uncle or grandparents or whoever it is.
Чего ты боишься? Ты объясни, чего ты боишься? Чего ты трусишь? Ты просто трусишь. Возьми, рискни, сходи в эту армию. У тебя не будет вопросов с законом.
Мам, смотри,
Смотри,
мы ранее уже обсуждали эту тему, я не хочу ее еще раз поднимать. Я понимаю твое мнение, у нас разные мнения.
Ты служить не хочешь просто. И ты сам понимаешь, что ты трус.
Мам, я не трус.
Ты это не признаешь.
Мам, я не трус.
So yeah, that's pretty much where it ends, and there was another classic trope in there as well, the classic statement of "не служил ни мужик," which is something that you hear sometimes in Russia, basically saying that if you haven't served in the army, you're not a real man. Because I don't know if you know, in Russia we do have mandatory conscription. This is something that always existed and exists outside of the Ukraine war in a sense. We have military conscription 2 times a year, and essentially every single Russian man from the age of 18 to 30 now, it used to be 27, has to go to the army for 1 year. I actually avoided it because I'm smart. I have a video how I did it, check it out. But certainly I've heard opinions from some of distant relatives that I don't really like that much at some, family functions, where I said that I don't necessarily want to go to the army and I don't really like the Russian army that much, or any army, to be honest. I would hear stuff like, yeah, of course, you're the Western traits or whatever, of course you wouldn't like that. Maybe if you went to the army, they'd beat some sense into you there, just normal statements, by the way. So the exact same classic thing is happening here. The guy here, in the eyes of his mom, is a coward because he refuses to go to the army, because he moved to another country, and he's a coward because he took such a big step, and because he was actually smart enough to move his body to a place where he cannot get conscripted. Once again, that makes him a coward, a traitor of Russia, and also an embarrassment for the entire family that needs to be disowned. Again, guys, from the standpoint of just pure family values and how mothers are supposed to look out for the children and wish the best for them, doesn't really make sense to me, right? Because Russia is kind of a death cult at this point. To do right by your family, you essentially have to go to the army and die in the war. That's the real way of a Russian man, I guess. So yeah, of course, even though the mother sounded a little psychotic in that video, you might think this doesn't happen that often and it's just a extreme example, but not really. Because the rift in Russian society right now, in a sort of divide between the elder generation and the younger generation, just in what kind of informational bubbles they live in, they're so far away from each other, they're so far apart, their values could not be further away from each other, right? That rift has always existed pretty much, I've had arguments about politics in my family way before the Ukraine war, ever since 2014 or something. I was already being called a Western traitor who would sell out Russia at any chance, so I guess they were right? But anyway... right now with the issue of war being present, the polarization has become only crazier, right? Whereas maybe before, if you didn't support Putin, and you had some family members that were just like, you know, good old traditional Putin supporters, right? You could kind of deal with it. But a lot of the times right now, people are just way too far from each other. The people who support the war and who do not support the war, they cannot tolerate each other anymore. They cannot talk to each other. And this is why family members just stop speaking to each other. And once again, I can definitely see how this right here is an epic win for family values in Russia, all done by Vladimir Putin. Thank you. And here's another video that went also semi-viral recently, posted by an LGBT influencer from Russia who, as far as I understand, moved from Russia to Spain. And he also recorded a phone call with his mom. Let's check it out.
Мам, ну вот я позвонил сказать то, что я в Испании.
Вы сейчас в Испании?
Да.
И что, паспорт свой советский не жди, пожалуйста.
Российский.
В туалете его не топи, понял?
Yes, guys, you see this right here is how well versed in, like, you know, international travel and, you know, being in other countries and visiting other countries some of these Putin supporting people are, okay? What she says to her son in the big year of 2025: don't even think about burning your Soviet passports. Where, of course, there's no such thing as a Soviet passport. Hasn't been since 1991. I mean, it's incredible. Just shows that this guy's mom hasn't had to use her passport even once in this entire time that after the Soviet Union fell apart, right?
Если ты хоть одно слово там, что-то будешь предпринимать, чтобы поливать грязью свою страну, я тебя найду. Даже в какой-нибудь вонючей Африке, понял? Потому что без мамы можно прожить, а без родины нельзя. Твоя страна-то без тебя обойдется, а вот ты как?
Никак, мама, я хочу, чтобы меня посадили в тюрьму и избили, там изнасиловали, чтобы я не мог жениться, и чтобы меня дроны кидали. Я русский.
I mean, he's basically taking the piss here, yes. He's saying that, you know, being Russian is wanting to get struck down by drones and going to prison. Yeah, I mean, some phrases in this that I just dropped in the middle of conversation, they show, like, deep-rooted, like, issues in the Russian society, I think.
Без мамы можно прожить, а без родины нельзя.
Like, what? You can get by living without your mother, but you cannot get by living without your motherland. That's crazy, bro. That's fucking crazy. What? So again, you're saying that a mother is saying to her child that she should be less important to him than the motherland, okay? And she wants that, by the way. She wants herself to be below the motherland, which means, you know, Vladimir Putin, because Vladimir Putin equals Russia now, equals the motherland. If you hate on Putin, you hate on the motherland, right? She wants to be underneath Vladimir Putin in the hierarchy, you know, in her son's mind. That's insane. That's fucking insane. What are they feeding these people, bro? Something is in the water, I swear to God.
Вот человеку вот, если повезло, он родился в России, ему повезло, что он родился в России, то это на всю жизнь, это не лечится. Конечно, это право на Россию еще надо будет себе очень долго отрабатывать, поэтому готовься. Вань, иногда лучше помереть, но здесь, понимаешь?
Лучше помереть в России, да? Помереть в России.
Конечно, да. Конечно, иногда лучше помереть в России. Иногда лучше так. Ну просто ты до такого уровня еще развития не дошел, к сожалению. Нет, Ваня, если в России будут бомбить, когда надо возвращаться?
Я не вернусь. Вас уже бомбят.
Да.
Вам нужно
Ваня,
уезжать.
значит, мы будем здесь, а ты там.
Да.
Вот и все.
What the fuck, man? What the fuck? Literally, like, shitting on her son for making decisions that make sense. He's made sure that he's in a safe country where he's not gonna go to prison for being just who he is, you know, being gay. He's made sure to not be in a country where drones are falling on your head like every fucking day. And yet, he's a dumbass and a coward or whatever. Because actually, the correct way to live your life is to stay in Russia and die there. Okay? That's the correct way to live your life. Staying in Russia, accepting everything that is going on, and just quietly fucking dying, that is the way to go. That's the attaboy. This is the way they want you to live your life in Russia as a man. You gotta be born, you gotta go to school, go to the army, and die. Or maybe not even go to the army, just die as a civilian because of a drone attack, right? Cool. Again, normal country, I guess. And this right here is once again coming from a mother who's supposed to nurture and care about her son's well-being. Something is clearly deeply very wrong in a country where mothers think that their child dying because of a stupid conflict that started for no reason is the correct and righteous way to live your life. And if your son dares to go to another country, betrays Russia, and lives a happy life where he can actually express himself and, like, be free and do what he wants and be who he wants, that's terrible. That's disgusting. That's disgraceful. That's an embarrassment for your whole family. Okay then, I will be an embarrassment for my whole family. I'm just not gonna be an embarrassment for myself. If these are the standards that we have to live by, okay? And also another important moment here, of course. They also, of course, usually like to say that you're just young and stupid and inexperienced and you don't get it yet. And that maybe if you were a little older and a little wiser, you would know that staying in Russia and dying is the correct way to go. She said there, you're just not on that level of development and experience yet where you understand that staying in Russia and dying is actually the best way to live your life. Because of course, one in freedom and one in respect for like your identity and who you are, and one in basic human rights, that is like childish, stupid behavior for idiots, right? This is, by the way, something that Russian propaganda is pushing a lot right now, saying that if you want the world to be a just place, where there's such things as justice and fairness, you're a little baby, grow up. Life isn't all fun and games. This is why the special operation had to happen, actually. You know, you have this entire like generation of these dumb fucks now who have swallowed the Z pill and who think they're now like enlightened over these stupid like naive little zoomer soy boys, right? Because the last remnants of their soul have been beaten the fuck out of them. They think that they like actually have a good grip on life now, and they realize that no, actually being a slave in a system is just the way it is, and you just gotta, you know, just gotta get used to it. And once again, just gotta stay in Russia and die. That's just the only way to go. That's what they're doing now, pretty much. And this is the exact same shit here. The elders in Russia usually tell the kids that, oh yeah, you want this like democracy stuff, come on. You don't want corruption to exist, come on. Stop being a naive little baby. The world doesn't work like that. This is why we have to just lay down and die and let them do anything to us. This is why we have no agency, and this is why we will literally like murder our own family members if they tell us to, okay? That's where this is going, I think, now. And yeah, it's just absolutely sad that this right here is how bad the Russian brainwashing gets. And I know that it's difficult to get out this mental prison, but if you have, then I commend you. Because when a social pressure is so hard and when everybody around you is telling you that you have to follow orders and you have to lay down and die, it is very difficult to turn out any other way. So, yeah guys, I mean, I guess that is gonna be pretty much it for today's video though. I just wanted to show you these two videos because they kind of shook me to the core and also resonated with me, and I think they show very well what is happening currently in the Russian society, in Russian families and so on. All I'm saying is just, I don't think it's normal that a country can produce such aggressive propaganda that family members no longer have any loyalty to each other and no longer want to like protect and defend each other against the system, because apparently if your family member does not support the system, then he shouldn't be your family. The system is actually closer to you than the family member. So fuck your son, man. Screw your son. Vladimir Putin, that's your guy. And it's really sad, man. It's actually terrifying. But yeah guys, if you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to slap the like on it. And as always guys, if you'd like to support me additionally, and that is financially, then go over to the link down in the description, buy me a coffee, or become a YouTube channel member here on YouTube. And yeah guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace.